Welcome to Upnerd. Case this week is variety time. Out of all the podcasts she could walk into, she had to walk into mine. It's my partner, Abby. Say hey ya, Abby.
I came here looking for a Mindcop, but I guess that couldn't be you, could it? That's my sexy voice. That's my sexy voice. That's my femme fatale voice. That's my femme fatale voice.
You're gonna have to retake that over and over again.
Listen, it's either Abby's very sick voice or it's Fran Drescher in the nanny voice. There's no in between. Hello, I'm Abby.
You're Abby. So, you hinted at it. We're going to talk about Mindcop. It is a game by a single developer, Andre Garris. Andre Garris. Mindcop is a game that was released on the 14th of November, 2024. It is a non-linear detective game with a lot of point-and-click elements. Walk around, click on things, pick them up, examine them. But largely, the game is dependent on the choices you make. You go to a town to solve a murder.
There's been a murder most foul.
You are the titular Mindcop.
Why do they call him Mindcop? Because he can look into your mind.
Yes.
And you would think that that would make solving the murder easier, and it does. But it's extremely well done. Once you finish the optional Mind Surf minigame, you are presented with 3 doors into the mind. One always tells the truth, one always tells a lie, and then the third one in the middle is an uncertainty. And again, you would think that that would make things easier, but it's really, really well done, and it's what got me kind of hooked on the game.
Yeah, so you played the demo?
I played the demo, yeah. So I was with my ladies discussing Wittgenstein and having a delightful tea soiree when I came across the YouTube video for this. All right, I was watching Germa clips.
It's on YouTube on my laptop while I was trying to figure out where that weird rash is coming from.
I looked over to my screen because I heard this kind of nice music because I play YouTube with ads, and I saw this thing that I'd never seen before, and it's the trailer for Mindcop, as it turns out. But I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the look, which is very noir, and just the whole vibe of the trailer really, really interested me. So I was like, oh, okay. I went on to Steam. They had a demo, and it is a considerable demo. I played the demo, I finished the demo, I bought the game. And now we have bought the game, played the game, finished the game. Sort of. We solved the murder.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Correctly.
Yes. Spoilers.
You can solve it incorrectly.
You can.
There are many ways to do so, in fact.
But of course, I, with my massive brain, managed to put all the pieces together.
I had to do most of it. You're given 5 days to catch the true killer. There are 13 different people to interact, question, mind surf, etc., etc. The game itself, I'll start with the look. It is very striking, and it's well animated. Very much uses noir. It's very dark tones, gray, black, little bit of white, and red for a lot of the lighting, although you can change it, by the way.
Yeah, it works. There are colorblind filters, which when I was playing on the Steam Deck, I used because the sort of green-red was too much like a 3D. It switches it to blue-orange, and it helps out a lot. But yeah, Mindcop, created by German game developer Andre Garris, for 6 years, full-time working since 2022, creating and drawing by hand. So he did everything.
Which I want to get to because it's beautifully animated. They're nice,
crazy good
touches and flourishes to the vast majority of the world, and the movements and kind of interactions with things.
Yeah, and it's as you say, the gameplay loop is there's a little bit of point and click to it. You're pointing and clicking on the crime scene to find clues and things like that. The overarching factor that prevents you from just looking at all the clues all at once is you are on a time limit. Each day you are given, I think it's like 7 or 8 hours.
7 hours.
Yeah.
Generally.
You're
Yeah.
given 7 hours, and every action that you take takes 2 minutes off of that, 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes.
Whatever. Yeah.
So you have this limited resource of your time, which can lead to some funny situations, like when we were in the person's house, like discussing the murder, and it was like, oh, sorry, time's up. Okay, I guess I'll just ask you that tomorrow morning. Okay, bye.
Yeah. See you later.
But it works. Having that limited resource, whatever it is, it just happens to be time, prevents you from exhausting all options.
It's to limit the fact that, so in terms of narrative and gameplay kind of wise, largely your methodology for solving things or getting to the heart of things is talking to the different characters and asking them certain questions or about certain things or about certain events. And that is how you discover new things and new events and new sort of clues and hints and that kind of thing. There are multiple dead ends. In fact, we discovered one that I think in a lot of narratives of the type would be a big deal early on in our game. And it ended up, it was nothing. There was really no reason. There was reason to it, but it didn't matter in terms of solving the murder case. And I thought things like that are a good choice. You can go down that path and try to solve this one sort of thing going on or mystery going on.
But it's going to take time away from...
Yeah, it takes time and it's not worth it because in the end it ends up not contributing to your case, which is probably a lot closer to real life than some games get to.
I mentioned that this was the best detective game that I have played. I haven't played as many as you have, but for reasons, I enjoy them, but they always just sort of let you exhaust all options. What intrigued me about Mindcop was that because you got this limited resource of your time, I had to think, okay, if I was actually an investigator, what of all these 20 things that I can click on in this room would I actually have to take a look at? And so I'm like, okay, well, there's a computer there. Maybe I should spend 15 minutes taking a look at that. Do I care about the bunny slippers under the bed or things like that? It was really intriguing because in another game, you would just be like, okay, now I'm going to click on the bunny slipper. Now I'm going to click on the computer. Now I'm going to click on the leaf. Now I'm going to,
Well, and also when you're talking to the different inhabitants during your initial line of questioning with each one of them, you can only ask one of two questions each time and then see where the conversation goes, and then you ask more questions, et cetera, but you only essentially get to explore the one line of questioning that way, which again is effective and probably more realistic than, say, in a game where you have an unlimited ability to ask or re-ask questions. It's not realistic to just repeat the same conversation over and over again to try every single option.
It's not, I don't know why I keep thinking this, but it's not Monkey Island where you, adventure game, walk up to a guy and you have 3 dialogue options and you click the first one, you get that answer. You click the second one, you get that answer. You click the third one, you get that answer. Whenever you're doing that interrogation, I didn't cotton on until I played it with you that, oh no, you can actually only pick one of these avenues, right? And it's as you say, it really makes you think about what should I actually be asking rather than the rote kind of gameplay that we've been used to. Yeah. This engaged my brain in a way that has not been engaged in many games before.
Yeah, so I mean, there's limitations to what you can do and how you go about the investigation, but they're all dabbling within realism versus just, okay, we needed to make this a game. How do we do that?
Yeah, it worked really well. I half of what I really enjoyed about it was as the days would get closer and closer, we'd start off with, we have ample time. We're going to go and interview him. And But as it gets closer, it's like, okay, what do we want to do now? And then we had to talk it out amongst each other. Like, what do we want to do? What do we think is...
By the end, we were scrambling just to meet people or get to a location, for example, that we hadn't explored yet.
We didn't meet 3 characters until like 2 hours before.
Yeah, before the time was up.
And it was crazy. It was crazy, man. Time really gets away from you.
So there's a lot of different ways to kind of come to the conclusion. I thought the conclusion overall was pretty satisfying as well, too. I think it's told in a very good package and told in a good way.
The defining piece of evidence, I to this moment, I don't know how I kind of pieced it together, but there's a piece of evidence that you find at one of the crime scenes that they tell you, oh, it could be XYZ. And in your adventure game brain, you're like, okay, they're telling me that it's definitely a piece from XYZ. I should go and find XYZ, but it's not. It's just like in real life. It's just, well, it's a piece of this, it's a piece of this material. It could be from this thing, or it could be from that thing. And it turns out it was from another thing. And that, I don't know how I did it, man. I'm so smart.
Sure.
So smart I am. Talking about smart, what really cemented me in a let's pay full price for this game, although it was 10% off because I got it the day it launched.
$18.99 Canadian, by the way.
It's a
the
steal.
Full price.
It's a steal.
On Steam, it is available on consoles, so PS5 and Switch.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Is available on.
We're going to talk about that too, because yes, made by one guy, but there is a publisher. When we got to the credits, I was not expecting the credits to be that long. But as we talked about it a little bit today, it made more sense because you're right. It is out on consoles, and that is a whole different specialized area of developing for and things like that.
Not to mention getting dev kits.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a variety of different things, yeah.
What really cemented this game as like A++, is this whole mind surfing thing where you have a truth, an uncertainty, and a lie. So one of these things that you're seeing is going to be a truth for that character, one of these things is going to be a lie for that character, and then there's one in the middle that you don't know if it's a truth or a lie. You would think it would be very straightforward, but he has designed and used his creativity, Monsieur
Garrus,
in such a way that it's always interesting, it's almost never what you would expect, and it's not handed to you. You have to sort of think about the situation that you just saw and be like, okay, well, did they break up? What does that mean?
Combined with does this actually pertain to the murder investigation? Combined with the fact that people don't always remember things in a linear fashion. So, for example, checking in on somebody's mind who you think has a big thing or something important to do with the case, their memory isn't necessarily going to be related to the case. Their memory, they remember different things, different points in time, that kind of stuff. So it's not always
about important. The murder. It's but then you've lost time, right? But then maybe it leads you to something that you can ask another character. So or
you realize the relationship between a certain character and another character is different than you thought, and that leads you in a different direction, et cetera, et cetera.
I think my favorite part was when we were like, oh, we have some extra time today. Why don't we check out that part of the map? And we were like, yeah, it's probably nothing there, but we have some extra time. And as it turns out, kind of blew the case wide open. So we're really trying to avoid spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I liked this game a lot.
Yeah.
I will say you touched on one of the things I will lean on as a bit of a negative. So the mind surfing and the getting a specific truth, lie, uncertainty, I feel like it was a concession to making it a video game.
I also felt that.
So when I think of detective games, immediately, frankly, the first one that comes to mind is one of the first ones I can remember playing because that tried that scope, and that's L.A. Noire. And LA Noire had a lot of positives. It did have some negatives. But one thing LA Noire tried, to varying degrees of success, was utilizing its graphics and its motion capture to try to help you decide whether or not somebody is telling the truth, telling a lie. I'm sure we've all seen some of the videos online on YouTube of some of the more hilarious and frankly stupid or bad reactions that ended up in the final product.
It was a good idea, but it relied far too heavily on a technology that was not there yet to be able to read a facial expression.
I can't think of a game, by the way, that I want or would like to see redone with today's level of technology more. But along the same lines, I will say I kind of wish the developer had had a little more faith in their artistic ability and attempted something similar to the LA Noire method. I understand why you wouldn't want to. There's a variety of reasons for it, aside from what I said in terms of like trusting your art, or in terms of the art would be potentially quite difficult. It's just sort of a personal thing that, I don't know, I wasn't big on the concession in terms of making the mind surf a thing. But having said that, some of my favorite detective games, you said that you think this is the best one you've played. It's up there. I would argue Return to Obra Dinn's probably the best I've played. Now, having said that, we are presently in just sort of a golden age of them. Paradise Killer is fantastic. There's Shadows of Doubt, which is another sort of independent game, which is a procedurally generated to the point that everything kind of changes or can change each time. And that's sort of a fascinating attempt at it. It could use some work, but it is outstanding for a first effort. There's the 2 Golden Idol games now, which are considered kind of, and I haven't played these, by the way, but I mean, the Golden Idol games are considered kind of the pinnacle of the detective genre. There's Dark Side Detective, and there's a variety of them. And this is still near the top. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I just wish, I love the dialogue, like we were talking about earlier, and I love the fact that, you know, you get all these items and events, you can ask them about it, but it costs you time, and you're limited by that. That's an excellent way to do it. So it makes me kind of wish the supernatural elements were less present versus something like Obra Dinn, where the supernatural elements are tied directly into the narrative and what you're doing.
The mind surfing, which I believe you mean the match 3 game, that kind of goes in between when you decide, yeah, I'm going to surf this dude's mind, and when you have completed the mind surf, that match 3 game, then you get presented those truth, lie, uncertainty doors.
Yes.
I like the truth, lie, uncertainty doors. I do feel like the mind surf mini game turns a game into a video game.
See, I'm not in love with the truth,
really?
Lie, uncertainty doors.
I love it.
But I do like that they don't just give it to you.
Yeah.
There's still an element of deduction there. So, I mean, when I say I'm not a huge fan of, I think this is an exceptionally good game. It is more than worth the $18.99 full price. It is more than worth that, especially if you like detective games and deduction games.
We never even got to talk to the cat.
Yeah.
Like,
There's certain things we didn't get to.
We didn't follow up on a lot of mysteries.
Yeah, I'm actually probably going to go back to it because I'm very curious about certain elements and how different it can be to get to the final conclusion and what can be changed before you get there. But yeah, I'm very pleased with it overall. Like I say, these are, when I say I didn't like something, it is very minor.
Yeah, no, I didn't like the Mind Surf when I was playing it on the Steam Deck and it was 6 inches away from my face. It was relaxing to watch you do it, but I also didn't have to expend my brain power. So for an observer, I kind of came around on the Mind Surf. It gives you a nice little break between
It's because watching me play video games is watching poetry in motion, baby.
A little bit.
It's pure, unadulterated brilliance.
Except for all those times that the brain exploded. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, I would have skipped it. And they give you the option to skip the mind surf. So if it's right there in the options, you can just don't like it, no problem. It really makes no difference.
Yeah, the game's really customizable, I found, for an independent title, which is something that they're getting much better for in terms of making them accessible to people with different disabilities.
You can use a keyboard and mouse. You can use it with a gamepad.
Yeah, I ended up playing via controller. Keyboard and mouse might be the optimum way, I'm not sure, but
I can't take keyboard and mouse into the bath with me. So, there you go. Technically, I shouldn't be bringing the Steam Deck into the bath with me either, but
yes,
that's a
I've
losing
lectured
battle.
you many times about the possibility of you destroying the beloved Steam Deck, which I never get to touch or use.
It's mine now.
I paid for it.
It is for me. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very good. It is one of the better games that's come out this year that we've played.
Somebody cared very much about the whole experience of this, from what you see drawn on the screen, just one dude, Monsieur Garry. Garris? Monsieur Garris? Monsieur Garris. Animating it on his own for 6 years, coming up with the plots, coming up with the dialogue, just one dude. And as just one dudette who is dipping her toes into game design and realizing just how very much more difficult it is than one would assume, I have an enormous amount of respect for that. I thought that the publishing company, which is called Dear Village or Dear Villagers?
Publisher company's Dear Villagers.
I thought that the publishing...
Upnerd Podcasts with an S at gmail.com. Oh, sorry.
I thought that the publishing company called Dear Villagers was his company. It's not. It's a publisher, which we got to those credits, and the whole time we're playing, and I'm like, yeah, one guy, oh my god. And it is. But we got to those credits, and I did not expect them to be, 3 minutes long. So he was able to find people for the musicians, and, people have voices and so on and so forth. That kind of stuff he can't necessarily do himself. But I was surprised to see that QA was handled by the publisher, things like that. And I was a little bit dejected until we sort of talked through it a little bit. And yeah, no, you're right. Just the dev kits alone for a console can be prohibitively expensive.
Usually around $10,000, depending on the console, depending on...
Starting.
Certain things, yeah.
Starting at.
I had one once, a long time ago.
So now I find that a little bit more... in the beginning, I was kind of like, well, but they said it was made by one guy, but there's people who did some background assists and play tested the game and localized in different languages. So I have gotten over that.
You know what they say, though? It takes a Dear Villagers to raise a game.
That's true. That's true. And it kind of does. I think my biggest concern now is more of an empathy. Because when you're a developer and you put your game on Steam or on the Switch or whatever, the person who owns the platform, so Nintendo if it's on the Switch, Sony if it's on the PlayStation, Valve if it's on Steam, they're going to take 30%.
Depending on the company, depending on the platform, yes.
The publisher, I would imagine, is going to take a similar cut. So those two combined is 60%. Let's call, I don't know if it's 30%, I'm just going to assume. Because it is a lot of work done by the publisher. Marketing, that YouTube video was probably put together by them. In fact, it was. And that got me to buy the game. So, for me, I find it a little bit sad that, assuming the figures are all correct, what this one man who has been toiling away on this for 6 years is left with is 40%. Now, if it becomes 40% of 10 million... that's still pretty good. Is it better than 100% of 300,000? I don't know. That's the game you play.
In terms of his publisher, by the way, Dear Villagers, good year for them in terms of independent games that they have chosen to publish. They had Caravan Sandwich, which is quite good, earlier in the year. They had Fabledom much earlier in the year. So yeah, solid choice. Seems to have worked out well for everyone involved for each of those.
Located, I believe, in France. Based in the south of France in sunny Montpellier. We are a boutique publishing label composed of a team of 20 people. Open-minded and versatile, we offer handcrafted marketing and production guidance. And indeed, apparently they do. So, I mean, the marketing worked on me. Mm-hmm. That's why you use YouTube with ads.
If you want to watch things on YouTube, you can go to Upnerd Podcasts on YouTube
also,
and watch things there.
Andre, please, we'd love to talk to you. You can, at the very least, confirm how your name should be pronounced. I'm sorry, I'm from Quebec. I'm French-Canadian.
Clearly Garrus. If you can be named Garrus after Mass Effect, you take it. If you want to correct our pronunciation of your name, you can email us, upnerdpodcasts@gmail.com.
With an S.
You can find us on Blue Sky, upnerdpodcasts.bsky.social. Check us out on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe.
And yeah, do check it out. And I'm also going to say it's kind of a fun family game. I enjoyed playing it with you.
Yeah, definitely worth it. Check it out.
All right, Linda, it's time. I have to get in there. I have to get into his Mindcop. I have to get into his mind precinct. Huh? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I got to see inside a dog's mind, and there was a cat, but we didn't get to go into the cat's brain.